Everything the light touches is our kingdom.
Wow.
A king's time as ruler rises and falls like the sun. One day, Simba, the sun will set on my time here and will rise with you as the new king.
In 1994, Disney changed animation with the release of The Lion King. And now, almost 30 years later, it is still one of the most beloved films ever. But there are definitely things that you might have missed about this movie, and I'm here to tell you about them all. With the release of the new Mufasa trailer, I figured let's go down memory lane and check out the original that set it all in motion. From being one of the first Disney movies to feature an original storyline, to a twisted final ending that could have changed the movie forever, here's all the things that you might have missed about The Lion King. Now, for most of us, The Lion King is one of those movies that we can never forget. Even the name itself is just perfection. But that wasn't always the case. The Lion King went through a few different titles, including the King of the Kalahari and the King of the Jungle, which at first thought you would be like, alright, lions are the King of the Jungle. Besides, they don't live in jungles. The King of the Jungle title was actually a metaphor for the story about human behavior. The creators were thinking about the idea of how it's a jungle out there in the world, and Simba has to exist in this jungle. Do lions even go in jungles in real life? So the creators threw all that out because they actually just wanted to focus on a simple story about a Lion King, to which then they all thought, why don't we all just call it The Lion King? Good job, creators. Really thought about that one, didn't you? But it is the name that we remembered 30 years later, so thank you, Disney. But one of the most interesting things about this movie is that it takes references from the famous play Hamlet, like Scar holding the skull of a lion, who may or may not be Mufasa's dead body. And of course, the story resembles Bambi because another little baby loses its parent. What was with the golden age of Disney just killing off parents all the time? The famous sequence Circle of Life, you know, the one that everyone's like, yeah, that whole scene actually changed once the Circle of Life song came out. It was quite different to begin with. The animated film's original opening scene featured a dialogue introducing most of the main characters, almost very reminiscent of some famous 90s sitcoms. You know, where the music's playing and it's like, Joey. And they're like doing random stuff like, man, I miss those kind of intros. The Circle of Life filled opening scene was so powerful that it was also used as the trailer for the film. It marked the first time Disney has ever made a trailer using a complete scene. Why don't they do that more nowadays? Like, just give us one little snippet of a scene that's just like this perfect like sequence, and that be the trailer. Then you're not spoiling anything. But that's not the only thing that changed in this movie. The animals themselves also were different. The Lion King's original script featured Scar as a lone lion, unrelated to Simba, who was in charge of a pack of vicious baboons. I wonder what his villainous drive would be, because, like, you know, obviously he wanted to be king. That was the whole point of his character. Also, in this earlier version, Rafiki was written as a cheetah, and Timon and Pumbaa were both friends with Simba from the very start. Yes, the very wise and intelligent cheetah. Yeah, I'm glad that one was scrapped, because that just makes no sense. But The Lion King was also a first of its kind. The Lion King was the first Disney movie to feature an original storyline, though there are some individuals that would argue against this, saying that the story took inspiration from both Hamlet and Kimba, the White Lion, an animated series from the 1960s. But it was also the first film to feature, that's right, the most funniest joke of all time that never gets old no matter how old you get, fart jokes. Yes, this was the first movie to feature a Disney character farting. And who holds that mantle? None other than Pumbaa himself.
Though I seem thick-skinned.
I mean, if I ate bugs all day, I'm sure I'd be gassy too. But talking about Timon and Pumbaa, there's something that you might not know about them. Nathan Lane and Ernie Sabella, who voiced Timon and Pumbaa, originally auditioned to be hyenas. They came to an audition in New York and they bumped into each other in the lobby, which is when they discovered they were both auditioning for the roles of hyenas. They asked the casting director if they could audition together, and they were hilarious as they read their lines, but the director and producers didn't see them right for the hyenas part. That's when they all thought, what if we use them as Timon and Pumbaa? And it was a match made in heaven. Because I think most people would agree that these are probably the two best sidekicks in any Disney movie ever. So we all know the famous song Be Prepared that resembles, you know, a specific German person that we don't talk about. But for that iconic scene, someone actually had to fill in for Jeremy Irons, who voiced Scar, because he lost his voice. Jim Cummings, the voice of Ed the Gopher, who reports to Zazu in the film, had to fill in for Jeremy Irons as Scar on the remainder of the Be Prepared song. I mean, Jim Cummings is just a Disney legend, so so I mean, why not? Now, I know what you're saying, Be Prepared is a great song, but the one and only song that a lot of people know and care about and probably still sing on a daily is Hakuna Matata. But what if I told you that Hakuna Matata wasn't in the original script? Hakuna Matata wasn't originally in the script because instead there was a song about eating bugs called He's Got It All Worked Out. The problem was that the directors and producers couldn't convince everybody that making the entire song about eating bugs was a good idea. I mean, can you imagine like a bunch of kids watching this scene and then going out and eating a ton of bugs? Soon after, the research team came back from their trip to Africa with the phrase Hakuna Matata. Hakuna Matata reminded them very similar to Bippity Boppity Boo, and the rest is history. Now, I don't know if it's because of that song or all of the entire beautiful movie that it was. The Lion King is the highest grossing hand-drawn animated feature of all time, with a total box office of over $986 million. And not only that, it is also the best-selling videotape of all time. That's right, nothing has ever broken it because, you know, VHS aren't a thing anymore. Time is a weird thing, which brings me to my next point of how long it took them to animate the stampede scene. The really sad scene that everyone still says is one of the saddest Disney scenes of all time. 30 years later, and it still gets me. It took animators more than 2 years to create this iconic scene. The 2.5-minute wildebeest stampede scene involved writing a new computer program to govern the movements of the herd. Just the very idea of being like, hey, I want these things to do this, and it doesn't exist, blows my mind that they had to create a different computer language, computer program to do this. Just like when a hyena expert sued Disney over this movie. Apparently, they sued Disney for defamation of character for its portrayal of the hyenas in the film, saying that the hyenas were seen as very negative characters when they aren't that vicious in real life. I feel like this hyena researcher had nothing better to do on a Sunday night. The hyena researcher did not win the case because it just made 0 sense. How can you have defamation of character on an animal? But that's not the only things that could blow your mind, because this one also like is absolutely insane. Disney's most important animators chose to work on Pocahontas instead of The Lion King. Wow, what a mistake that was. The Lion King was actually made by a B team of Disney animators, since the A team had elected to focus on the picture they thought would be more successful, Pocahontas. Which is hilarious to think about today because the reimagined version of Pocahontas with the big giant blue men, yeah, it looks like the blue people did way better than the original concept. But Disney has always been known to get down to the nitty and gritty when it comes to details in their movies, oftentimes bringing in experts and sometimes real animals. Wildlife expert Jim Fowler brought real African animals like hornbills and lions at different stages of life into the Disney studio to serve as figure models for the team of animators working on the film. He taught them how lions greet one another by gently butting heads and show affection by placing one's head under the other's chin. He talked about how they protect themselves by lying on their backs and using their claws to ward off attackers, and how they fight rivals by raising on their hind legs like a clash of titans. And putting all of this into the animation and coming back and just looking at the movie now, it's kind of crazy how they got all of the details perfect to a T based off this expert. Which also brings me to what the final fight sequence actually was first written like. The final fight sequence was supposed to have ended much differently. The original fight sequence had Simba losing to Scar. Yeah, the hero of the story actually lost the fight, but it also ended with Scar still falling in the fire and dying and burning alive. So, but it is kind of crazy to think about what would have happened if Scar would have won. But one of the ones that I missed, which I thought was really cool, is during the song Be Prepared. When it shows all of the silhouettes of all the hyenas and everyone's getting ready and getting excited, in the very back, during the lightning strike, you can actually see an outline of an animal that doesn't look like it belongs there. That's right, that is the silhouette of Jacques from The Lady and the Tramp. I wonder what he was doing there with all the hyenas. And there you have it. We went down memory lane to show you all the things you could have missed in The Lion King. Did I miss some other stuff? If I did, let me know in the comments below, and maybe I'll do a part 2 if there's more. Also, let me know what other movies you guys would like to see, and maybe I can find some details that you might have missed. Check out this video right here because it's more of me, and if you finish this video and you enjoyed this, you'll probably enjoy that one. I'll see you over there. Bye-bye.